Hello, I'm Larry Fermato. Welcome to Connected. I have the beautiful Leanne with us, and we are talking about Lucky Luciano, folks, and what a story. So, in our last episode, you learned how Lucky Luciano, made millions and millions and millions of dollars in the rackets and in bootlegging. So what that got him was a long jail sentence, 30 to 50 years. He got that sentence commuted at the end. You know how that happened, right?
I did. So he ended up having his sentence commuted by helping the US government with information that helped protect the docks, the New York docks.
Right, the New York docks. Yeah, so, and they called it Operation Underworld. So because of his help, he got his sentence commuted, but he got deported to Italy. And that's where he was supposed to stay for the rest of his life.
Well, that was part of the deal. He was meant to stay there and come back to the US.
That was the deal.
Yeah.
So Luciano wasn't having that, though. So he figured a way to get out of Italy and go to Cuba. Now, Meyer Lansky was already doing all these operations in Cuba. He was involved heavily in gambling there and in building hotels. So Luciano wanted to get to Cuba so that he could have his hands in the pie still. Cuba's close to America, as we all know. So, Luciano wanted to run the American Mafia from Cuba.
Yeah,
Go figure that out.
Yeah, well, all the time that he was in jail and then in Italy, he lost a lot of the control that he had, even though Costello was running the show for him while he was gone.
Well, Costello was his number one guy, and, of course, Genovese, was supposed to be the number one guy, and Genovese left to go to Italy because he was going to be indicted for that murder in 1939, I think it was, and so he had no choice but to leave, so Costello stepped in. So now, Meyer Lansky calls this big meeting in Cuba of all the bosses. And Luciano is there. And so they're there to discuss what to do, in Cuba. The gaming, the hotels, the casinos. And they're there for another reason as well.
Well, they wanted to talk about what they were going to do with Bugsy Siegel too.
That's right. Bugsy Siegel, we did a show on Bugsy Siegel, folks, and we talked about Bugsy Siegel and building the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, and he's the guy who's responsible for pretty much Las Vegas.
Yeah, that was one thing that I didn't know. I was surprised that he was the one that founded, I guess,
Las Vegas. He started Las Vegas. If it wasn't for Bugsy Siegel, there'd be no Las Vegas.
Well, if it wasn't for Bugsy Siegel and his determination to make something of himself, Las Vegas wouldn't be where it is today.
Yeah, he was, he was he was a bad guy. He was a really bad guy. So, but he did get that Flamingo Hotel open, much to his credit, even though he robbed a lot of the money. So now we're back to Cuba and Luciano is there with Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel's best friend, Meyer Lansky. And Luciano says, Siegel's got to go. And so, Lansky agreed. So they put the hit out on Bugsy Siegel.
Geez, that must have been hard to make that decision to put a hit on someone that they'd been working with for years.
Well, it wasn't hard for Luciano, but it was a little hard, I think, for Lansky. But it was business.
Yeah.
It was business, and business is business, and so that was it. It was determined at that meeting that Bugsy Siegel was going to get whacked.
Did they ever work out where all that money went that Siegel was, I guess, draining from
No, Siegel was a big bookie. He had a big, wire operation going on, but, he was a big gambler as well. Who knows what he did with all the money, but he did siphon off a lot of money out of the Flamingo, and, he paid the total consequence for it, So they killed Bugsy Siegel at his girlfriend's house in Los Angeles. And, we talked about the movie The Godfather, Leanne.
Yeah.
And we talked about how Michael went to the bathroom and he came out blazing and he killed the police captain. And how Luciano kind of did the same thing. He got up and went to the bathroom so that they could kill Maranzano. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, guess what?
Oh, the same thing didn't happen.
There's a scene in The Godfather and they call it the Bugsy Siegel scene. And it's where Mo Green, that's the character in The Godfather. Mo Green is on a massage table and he's getting a massage. And somebody opens the door. Mo Green lifts up his glasses to put on his glasses to see who is coming through the door. And they shoot him and it goes right in his eye. And that was the scene in The Godfather. And so when Bugsy Siegel got shot in real life, folks, you know, they said he got shot through the eye, but in reality he got shot in the face and it knocked out his eye. So, but they still call it the Bugsy Siegel shot.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
gross.
just a bit of trivia for you folks. Anyway, so it was determined at the Cuba meeting that Bugsy Siegel was going to go. And Luciano, you know, had a surprise meeting. Genovese asked for a special meeting with Luciano.
And that was where Genovese wanted to become the boss of bosses.
No. Genovese wanted Luciano to declare himself boss of bosses, and Genovese wanted to run everything for Luciano. So the deal would be, Luciano says, hey, I'm the boss of everybody, but Genovese is going to run the whole show, right?
Yeah.
So that's what Genovese whispered. Well, I say whisper, he didn't whisper, he was having a conversation with the guy. But that's what he said to Luciano, thinking like he's going to, you know, pull Luciano into this little, you know, game conspiracy. Luciano didn't fall for it. In fact, Luciano told Genovese, listen, if I want to be boss of boss, I would announce it to everyone. That's not in my game. That's not what we want. There's never going to be another boss of boss. And don't ever approach me with this again, or I won't be so nice about it next time.
I don't even know why Genovese thought that he could approach Luciano for anything after he screwed up the first time. What made him think that he was going to listen to him?
Well, I mean, at that point, you know, Genovese was feeling, you know, his oats. You know, he came back from Italy, and you know, to face these murder charges, and you know, he was feeling a little strong. But you know, Genovese was, you know, a power-hungry kind of guy. So you know, with a very stern warning, Luciano said to him, "And don't forget, you work for me." That's what Luciano told him.
Yeah.
And you know, that pretty much ended that whole little power play for the moment, just for the moment. And you know, the meeting was over. Everybody left and went back to their own little deal. And Luciano stayed in Cuba, thinking he was going to stay there the rest of his life. He had it made there. But the United States government had a whole different plan for Luciano. They were not happy that Luciano was in Cuba. When they found out that he was in Cuba, they contacted the government in Cuba, and they told the government, listen, we are going to put an embargo on you if you don't deport Luciano.
Yeah, they ended up turning him in and sending him back to Italy after that.
Cuba deported Luciano back to Italy.
Yeah.
And you know, Leanne, he didn't have a very good time going back to Italy either.
Didn't he just go back on a freighter?
He did. He went back on a Turkish freighter.
Yeah.
And he was kept under 24-hour surveillance when he got back to Italy.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, it was either stay in your home under 24-hour surveillance or go to jail.
Wasn't he arrested for something else after he arrived?
I think they tried to get him for drugs.
Yeah.
But, you know, he didn't go to jail. Nothing really.
No, they ended up letting him off and just
with
slap on the wrist, stay out of trouble.
Another stern warning,
Yeah.
you know. But, you know, it was very corrupt back then. You could almost buy yourself out of anything, you know, in Italy back then. So, you know, I don't know. But anyway, so, you know, Luciano did not have it very well. In the meantime, back to our boy Genovese. So power-hungry Genovese decides Frank Costello and Luciano gotta go. Their run is done, and it's time for me, being Genovese, to step up to the plate and take over everything. So Genovese goes to his very trusted soldier, Vincent the Chin Gigante, and he has Vincent Gigante go to murder Frank Costello.
Geez, that name sounds familiar. Where have I heard that name before?
You probably heard it in my book. And where is it? There it is.
There
There's
it
the
is.
book.
Guys, I did hear that name in the book. So what happened with Gigante?
I'm not going to tell you unless you tell everybody where to buy that book at.
Oh, how could I not tell you where to buy the book at, guys? Amazing book. You can buy it from whitecollarpress.com or any other book outlet. Fantastic buy, guys.
So now I'm going to tell you. So Gigante goes to a hotel or a bar. Don't hold me to this one. I'm not sure if it was a bar or a hotel. I mean, we could find out soon enough if we had to. Anyway, he goes to there, and Frank Costello is in there. And he walks up behind Costello, and he says, "Hey, Frank." And Frank turns around, and Gigante shoots him right in the head.
Yeah. Shoots him once.
Shoots him right in the freaking head, turns around, and runs out of the place.
Thinking that he killed him.
There you go. She lets the cat out of the bag. I can't even tell the story, folks. She lets the cat out of the bag, yes. Thinking that he killed him, and he didn't. He shoots Frank Costello right in the head and didn't kill the guy. So, but the police knew it was Gigante that shot Costello. I guess somebody fingered him. Somebody, witnessed and gave up, Gigante. So they arrested him and they put him on trial for murder.
Yeah.
So, Costello, had a real eye awakening, folks, if you want to call it that. And he decided, pardon the pun, and he decided, hey, enough is enough. I don't feel like getting shot anymore. I think, by the grace of God, the bullet didn't penetrate my skull. I think maybe I should get out of this business. So he makes a deal with Genovese to retire. And he gets subpoenaed to the trial of Vincent the Chin Gigante for attempted murder.
Yeah, Costello never ended up giving him up, did he?
Costello never gave up Gigante. And when the trial was over, Gigante said thank you to Costello.
Yeah.
And, Costello went on his merry way and, was able to retire at that point. Back to our boy Luciano, but Luciano wasn't satisfied with that whole let Frank Costello, just go and retire and Genovese be the big boss. That wasn't happening as far as Luciano was concerned. You know what he did?
What did he do, Larry?
He went and hired and gave $100,000 to a drug dealer. The drug dealer was from, I think, Cuba or Dominica and somewheres, and he gives the guy $100,000 to give up Genovese and to frame Genovese.
On what, under drugs?
On drugs.
And he didn't even do it this time?
He didn't do it. So Genovese gets convicted for drugs and winds up getting 15 years in federal prison for drugs.
And he ended up living out his entire life in jail?
He did. He ended up living out his entire life in jail, yeah.
So did he end up running the crime family from jail?
He did. For a good deal of time, he ran the crime family from his jail cell, yeah.
So who ended up taking over from him?
Oh, well, they say, the boss of the Genovese crime family up until just recently was Gigante.
Again, guys, that name comes up in Larry's book. You've got to read it, and all the dealings that Larry had with the Genovese crime family.
And where should they buy that book at?
whitecollarpress.com or any other book outlet, guys. And you know what? We also have merchandise that you can contact us for at connectedwithlarry@gmail.com. We also have beautiful t-shirts and the connected mug and the connected USB.
Flash drive.
Flash drive even.
It has to be connected for it to work.
Thank you. That's our producer that said that. That's why we got him. He's pretty sharp. So Leanne. Yes, Larry.
Yes, Larry.
So Leanne.
Yes, Larry.
So Genovese goes to jail, and Luciano is still stuck in Italy.
So did he ever come back to the US?
He never did. So this is what happened. Luciano was writing a book. In fact, the book was published, and a lot of people say it really wasn't Luciano that wrote it, but there was a lot of stuff in that may have been written after Luciano's death. Luciano died in 1961, Leon, and he died at an airport in Naples. He was going to meet a movie producer. He was going to do a movie about his life.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so he was going to the airport to meet this movie producer to do this movie about Lucky Luciano, and everything was going. It was going to be done. They were getting ready to do it. So as Luciano was leaving the airport, he had a massive heart attack and he died.
Yeah.
So, but what he didn't know was, had he left the airport, he was about to be arrested for drugs. So he would have spent the rest of his life in jail anyway.
Jeez, go to jail. Yeah.
So at least he went out, not in jail.
Yeah.
So that's the story of Lucky Luciano, folks. And we look for your comments. We want you to subscribe, hit the like button, email us at connectedwithlarry@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of our show. If you want to know anything else about Lucky Luciano that we didn't mention, give us some comments or email us, and we'll see what we can do. Right, Leanne?
Absolutely.
What else do we want them to do, Leanne?
We would love you to visit whitecollarpress.com to purchase Larry's book Connected, where you'll find lots of interesting details about the mafia and the crime families. So that's whitecollarpress.com or any other book outlet. And guys, don't forget, we also have merchandise which you can contact us about. We have beautiful t-shirts, the lovely Connected mug, and the Connected flash drive. So you can comment below if you're interested in those items as well.
And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.
That's right.
That's what else we want you to do. Leanne?
Yes, Larry.
That's what else we want you to do.
Exactly.
That's what we want you to do. We want you to tell everyone, don't forget to subscribe.
And everyone, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.
There you go, ducky.
And stay connected.
And stay connected.
Lots of people made money before me, and lots of people came after me, but I was the only one who introduced organized crime into the world of the penny stock market, and we owned it.